Okay, so at the moment I have debuff filters set up in a way that it's going to show the debuffs that I'm doing. Let me just open this up. It's going to show the debuffs that I'm doing over here and the buffs that I'm getting up here. You can move these wherever you want. And basically I've increased the size to 1.90 so that everything looks a bit bigger than the normal buff and debuff sizes, so that I can actually get a visual indicator without having to look away too much. Let me just turn this off. I need to show backdrop. And let me just show you. Okay, so rend, or it would be rend. Okay, rend over here, as you can see. And now I have a buff that's Thirst for Blood, and it shows up here. That's basically what this does, and you can decide which buffs it tracks and which buffs it doesn't. Like for instance, I have mine set up to track the debuffs of Mortal Strike. This is mainly for PvP reasons. I'm not a good PvP or anything, but it's like I like to track when my target is affected by Mortal Strike or not. Rend, you also want to keep track of that, because when you're doing arms DPS, you always want to know when your target has Rend. And Sunder Armor is more for tanking purposes than anything else, but basically you can track it as well. I'm probably pretty soon going to also start tracking my Thunderclap and my Demo Shout. It's just I don't want to like get too much stuff on my screen as well, because like for instance, if I'm tanking, I'm probably going to have like Sunder Armor, Thunderclap, and all kinds of stuff filling up my screen, and I don't want that either, so I'm trying to strike a balance here. And basically you also have to decide which kind of buffs and debuffs you're tracking. Like for instance, for the buffs I'm only tracking my own, and you have here Fatal Flaws, which is basically when my trinket procs. You have the Slam, which is basically when you're doing Fury DPS, it's going to give you the Slam buff whenever you get the I don't remember the name. It's that skill that basically makes you proc instant slams. I don't remember the name. Sudden Death for when you get Execute procs, and Taste for Blood when you get Overpower procs. And you can set this up for anything, like suppose, let's say that you're a Paladin and you want to track when Art of War procs. You just get this add-on, you make sure that you select Player here so that it's tracking your buffs. And then you write here Art of War add, boom, and basically what it's going to do is whenever you get the Art of War buff, it's going to pop up on your screen, and it's going to show it over here wherever you have the player buffs thing. So this is a pretty useful add-on, and I've had a lot of questions about this add-on. People asking me, oh, what's the stuff that's tracking your Death Knight diseases? This is it. Okay, this is what's tracking my Death Knight diseases. I just have it set up here to check the debuffs of my target for, I believe it's Plague Fever and Frost Fever or something like that. And basically this is what tracks it. So that's debuff filters. And next up I have EPGP, which is basically this loot thing we have. This doesn't really affect my UI that much, but I just need it when I'm in a raid, because we use the EPGP system. If you don't know what that is, Google it up. It doesn't really matter that much for the UI guide. Next up is gear score. I tell a lot of people that I use gear score, and a lot of people get offended because there's a lot of hatred for gear score. And the thing is, I don't agree in judging a person just for gear score, but the thing is, the gear score allows me to have a rough estimate of their performance. I don't use it to filter people out from raids. I just use it, like for instance, I join an heroic, I look at people's gear scores and I know, okay, with these guys I can pull 2 packs or I can pull 3 packs. Okay? Second, need to wet my throat. So anyways, with gear score I can analyze the expected performance and I can adapt to it, okay? And also it allows me to see, like for instance, if I have a 5.7k geared DPS that's doing like 2k DPS, I know that I can't really pull that much because the guy is a complete idiot. So that's it about gear score. Next up I have Gladius. Gladius is again one of those PvP things that it shouldn't really matter so much. I don't even know how to show it up when I'm not in arenas. But basically it shows up as a square over here. so that I see what the people I'm fighting against are. I'm glad this is pretty simple. You can Google it up as well. I have heal bot, but it's not enabled on my warrior for obvious reasons. Then I got Omen. Okay, so Omen should be pretty straightforward. It basically tells you how much threat you're doing. It's pretty much everyone should use Omen, and I mean everyone because it keeps track of the threat you're making, how much aggro you're gonna make before you're gonna pull aggro off your main tank or something, and basically just keep track of your aggro all around. Omen is like the best aggro add-on around. Next up, it's Omen CC. Omen CC, it's pretty much Omen CC, Omni cooldown count. Basically, what Omni cooldown count does is it shows up numbers on your skills like this. You see here, my Mortal Strike has a 3 or 4. There's a 16 on my charge. These numbers are done by Omni CC. It's pretty straightforward. Next up, I got Overachiever. Doesn't really matter. I just use it to track achievements every now and then. Whatever. Doesn't really matter that much to the UI. Next up is Recount. Recount obviously keeps track of how much damage you're making, how much healing everyone is doing, how much DPS someone is doing. Basically, it has all kinds of stats that you can check, and it also allows you to like have detailed graphics on your own DPS. Like for instance, oh, I've made this amount of damage in melee hits, this amount of damage in Mortal Strike, so that you know that you're doing your rotation properly or not. Okay. So basically that's what Recount does. Mostly I use it to track damage and healing. I don't use it too much beyond that. Sometimes I use it to check activity, like to see if someone's really slacking in a raid or not. So there's a lot of stuff that Recount can do for you, and basically you should all know what Recount is anyways. Next, Sexy Cooldowns, which I don't use on this character. Sexy Cooldowns is an add-on that basically shows up your cooldowns of the abilities you're using, but it's not very useful for my warrior because everything, at least in arms and in fury, there's also a few proc based stuff, so it doesn't really allow you to take that many conclusions, because like sometimes abilities just refresh faster than their usual times, so sexy cooldowns is not really that much useful for warriors. Besides that, I also have the Sexy Map add-on, and the Sexy Map add-on is I just used Sexy Map for one reason, okay? Basically, the reason was my map is up here, and I wanted it down here. That's the only reason I got Sexy Map, okay? I need to move my map down, and I need to make it movable, so I got Sexy Map. Nothing else. But then, after I got it, I'm like, okay, I might as well go through the templates. And I like having a square map better than having a round map. But that's really up to you. You can configure it to be square if you want. So I just went ahead with the square thing because it also looks a bit neater in the overall UI. Next up, shadowed unit frames. Okay, shadowed unit frames is basically something which I really love. And I'm going to show you exactly what this does. So I'm going to unlock my shadowed unit frame so that it shows up all my frames. Okay, big huge fucking mess. Yes it is. Okay, so what's going to happen is there are certain bosses that you need to be aware of their health. So their health is going to show up over here, like for instance in Blood Council I have 3 health bars over here. For the gunship battle as well. Then there's the target of my target. It's over here. My target is over here. My target's debuffs. Myself. My pet if I have one, which I usually don't. My focus target. And the target of my focus target. Then there's my raid frames over here. And also my party frames behind it. So what this does is basically it replaces the default Blizzard UI frames. Why? Because for one, they're too tiny. Like for instance, there's like 4 pixels of a health bar. That's not good. I mean, I look at it and I have to almost okay, he's at 30%. With this, no, it's just like a big health bar, and it's color coded. Like for instance, if it's brown, it means it's a warrior. If it's pink, it means it's a paladin, and so forth. So it also helps you identify what kind of people you have in your party without having to hover your mouse over them and see what classes they are. You just look at the colors and it's like, okay, there's a chamois, there's a paladin, there's blah 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 blah. Doesn't matter.